You're floating, not falling, not dreaming, floating. Above a room you recognize, there's a body on the floor, and you realize slowly that the body is you. You can see the ceiling fan, you can hear someone crying, but you can't move, you can't speak, you're not unconscious, you're not hallucinating, you're dead. And the first 60 minutes, the ones nobody talks about, have just begun. For most of human history, death was simple. Your heart stopped. You stopped. End of story. But science has cracked something open in the last 2 decades, and something that doesn't fit neatly into any textbook. Death, it turns out, isn't a moment. It's a process. And in that process, something strange happens to your brain, your body, and possibly to whatever it is we call consciousness. In 2014, Dr. Sam Parnia at NYU Langone led a study of over 2,000 cardiac arrest patients across 15 hospitals in the UK, US, and Austria. The AWARE study, Awareness During Resuscitation, found something startling. 40% of patients who were revived reported some form of awareness during the period they were clinically dead. Not vague impressions, specific details. One patient recalled the exact sequence of events in the room, details he couldn't have known from his position, lying unconscious on the floor. So what's actually happening? What does your brain do in those first seconds? What does your body do in the first hour? And here's the real question. The one science hasn't fully answered yet. Are you still there? Minute 0, the last signal. Your heart stops. Blood pressure, 0. Oxygen delivery to cells, ceased. Your brain, which uses roughly 20% of your body's oxygen, starts to panic. Within seconds, electrical activity in the brain begins to falter. Neurons start firing erratically, desperately, like a city's power grid flickering before the blackout. Consciousness doesn't just switch off, it surges. In 2013, neuroscientist Jimo Borjigan at the University of Michigan made a discovery nobody expected. In the 30 seconds after cardiac arrest in rats, the brain didn't go quiet. It lit up. Gamma waves, the highest frequency brain waves, the ones associated with focused conscious thought, vivid memory, and heightened awareness, spiked to levels higher than during normal waking life. The dying brain wasn't shutting down. It was firing everything it had. But what nobody expected was what this meant for humans. And we'll get there. Minutes 1 to 3. The body lets go. Your muscles go completely limp, all of them. This is called primary flaccidity. Without cellular energy, muscles can't hold tension. Your face relaxes, your hands open. From the outside, you look peaceful. From the inside, according to those who've come back, something very different is happening. In 2022, doctors at the University of Tartu were monitoring an 87-year-old man with an EEG when he unexpectedly died of a heart attack. They didn't stop the recording. What they captured was identical to Borjigan's rats. A surge of gamma wave activity for 30 seconds after his heart stopped. The region most active, the temporoparietal junction, the part of the brain associated with out-of-body experiences, dreaming, and altered states of consciousness. Think about that. The area of the brain that creates the sensation of floating above your own body was the most active region in the moments after death. In 2023, Borjigan's team published a second study, this time on 4 comatose patients in an ICU. 2 of them showed the same gamma surge after life support was removed. Published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, the research confirmed one thing clearly. The human brain can be active during cardiac arrest, not imagining things, not glitching, active. Minutes 3 to 10. The separation. Here's where it gets philosophical. Dr. Sam Parnia has spent decades studying what happens at the threshold of death. His conclusion is uncomfortable for traditional neuroscience. He believes consciousness may not be produced by the brain. It may interact with the brain. Think of it like this. Your phone isn't the internet. It just receives it. If the phone breaks, the internet doesn't disappear. Parnia's research suggests that when the brain fails, consciousness doesn't become annihilated. According to him, and many patients who returned, it becomes hyper-lucid. more vast, more present, more conscious than they'd ever felt while alive. Now, science hasn't proven this. It's important to say that. These are early findings, small sample sizes. Debates are ongoing, but the consistency of the experiences is hard to dismiss. Across cultures, across ages, across belief systems. People report the same things: peace, expanded awareness, a sense of leaving the body, encountering light, not chaos, not fear, something else entirely. Minutes 10 to 30. The body begins its own process. While whatever remains of you is experiencing that, the body is doing something different. It's being reclaimed. Gut bacteria, the trillions of microorganisms that lived inside you, no longer have immune barriers holding them back. They begin migrating into blood vessels, into organs that were previously sterile. The body is not abandoned. It's already becoming something else. Cells don't all die at once. Some continue living for hours, even days after the heart stops. Your skin cells, bone cells, hair follicles. Death is less like a switch being flipped and more like a tide going out. Slow, gradual, relentless. Minutes 30 to 60. Where are you? This is the question science can't fully answer. And this is the part that makes philosophers and neuroscientists equally uncomfortable. In Europe, surveys suggest roughly 55% of people believe in some form of personal survival after death. In the US, that number is even higher. Most mainstream scientists dismiss this. But a growing number, serious published researchers, are asking a different question. Not, is there an afterlife? But, what is consciousness exactly? And does it require a brain to exist? There's no consensus. There may not be one in our lifetime. But the fact that we're asking the question, rigorously, scientifically, with EEG machines and peer-reviewed journals, says something. We've never been closer to understanding what happens when you stop, and we still don't know. Here's the thing, nobody tells you about death. The people who've come back, the ones who are clinically dead and revived, most of them aren't afraid anymore. Not of death. They describe it as the most real experience of their lives. More real than anything that happened while they were alive. Dr. Parnia's patients don't report darkness or nothingness. They report clarity, a sense that what mattered in life, the job, the money, the grudges, the anxiety, none of it followed them through. What remained was something simpler: love, connection, purpose. One patient described it like this, and sit with this for a moment. He said it felt like waking up from a dream, except the dream was his entire life. And what came after felt more awake than anything before it. Now. Science can explain the gamma waves. Science can explain the brain chemistry, the oxygen depletion, the shutdown cascade. But science cannot yet explain why the experience is consistent. Why a child in Ohio and an elderly man in India and a middle-aged woman in Japan all describe the same thing: peace, light, the sense that they were not alone. Whether that means something beyond biology, that's a question each of you will answer for yourself. But the data says this much: your final moments are not empty, they are full. So, your life is a ghost, the first 60 minutes after it ends. Here's what we know. Your brain doesn't go quiet, it goes loud. Your body doesn't stop, it transforms. And your consciousness, whatever that actually is, doesn't seem to simply vanish. Remember where we started? Floating above a room, watching, present. That image isn't just philosophy, it's what 40% of resuscitated cardiac arrest patients describe, specifically, verifiably. The science of death is still young. We're only beginning to ask the right questions with the right tools. But what the data is quietly suggesting, what the gamma waves and the AWARE studies and the consistent patient reports are all pointing toward, is something remarkable. Dying might not feel like an ending. It might feel like arriving somewhere. And the version of you that floats above that room in the first 60 minutes, it might be the most awake you've ever been. The question of what happens after those 60 minutes, that's a different video entirely. If this kind of question interests you, the science of things we can't fully explain, there's a video on this channel about what near-death experiences tell us about memory and the self. I think you'll find it worth your time.